is Jeannie Harrison. I am the founder of Yoga for Emotional Intelligence and Grow Nature-Based Fellowships. Today I'm going to be walking you through a trauma-informed chair yoga class that you can do in a grow meeting. Let's say you can't go outside for the day, so you want to prepare your students for meditation through yoga, or you can do this in a classroom with kids. Just mix it up, make it a little bit more fun. And I'm just going to go through a few little pointers ahead of time, and then I'll invite you to follow along in this class. The PDF that accompanies this video will be linked in the description and sent to all of our Yoga EQ partners and Grow facilitators. There are some really basic things that you need to keep in mind when teaching chair yoga in any setting. The first is you want a chair with no arms. So a lot of desks will have sort of an attachment around the side. Those are not as ideal. You can still work with what you got, so if you need to turn people so that their legs are facing out, that might be a little bit easier for some of the poses. Just kind of get creative with it. But really, the most important thing in terms of safety is you want to make sure that the chair is really stable. So I brought in a dining room chair from my house just to demonstrate one today. But you can work with a number of chairs as long as they're stable. It's really, really important, especially when you're working with folks who may not have the same range of motion and things like that. Make sure that everything is really stable and safe for them. Let's remember the fundamentals of building a trauma-informed yoga space, or a trauma-informed space in general. The first thing you want to remember is to phrase everything as an invitation. So I obviously can't force you to do this practice with me once we get started. I'm going to simply invite you to join me. If there's something that doesn't work in your body, don't do it. And you want to remind your students or your members of the fellowship, you want to remind them a lot that everything is an option, okay? You also want to really work on your phrasing, because in these spaces, when we are facilitating these groups, you are seen as the leader. Even though you're a peer and you're just, serving as a resource, you are seen as an authority figure. So it really helps to use that invitational language. Instead of telling people what to do, you're simply offering them an invitation. Second thing, this probably isn't going to come up very frequently in a chair yoga class, especially with folks who are not trained yoga instructors. But remember, in trauma-informed teaching, there are no hands-on assists. There is never a reason to get in anybody else's space and to touch them unless it's a direct safety concern. So do not offer hands-on assists. And even nurturing touch, like walking around and squeezing people's shoulders or something like that, unless that is explicitly stated as something that person is requesting for anxiety issues or something like that, don't do it. It's just so much better to avoid that. And in regard to that, and sort of related, accepting all shapes. There's not a wrong way to practice these poses. The goal of this class, the goal of yoga in general, is to loosen up the body to prepare for meditation, so that you're not thinking about how tight your lower back is or how much your neck hurts while you're meditating, because that distracts from the meditation process. So accept that someone's warrior two might look a little different than someone else's. That's not to say that in terms of alignment and safety, we shouldn't be vigilant of that, but in a chair yoga class, you're probably not going to run into those safety concerns. And then finally, shared authentic experience. This is something I talk about all the time in trauma-informed classes. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm going to practice along with you the entire time. This is really, really important for building that trauma-informed and, peer oriented relationship with the folks that you're working with. So just try to practice along as much as you can. If there are certain things, if you're working with kids and you can't quite keep up physically if they're running around or something like that, it doesn't necessarily apply. But certainly in these slower flow, especially chair yoga classes, it definitely applies. So make sure that you're doing everything that you are asking them to do. It's also really helpful for visual learners to see what you're doing instead of having to just comprehend what you're asking them to do with words. So if they can see you, they can copy you. All right, so let's get started with this chair yoga routine. The first thing I want to invite you to do is to get comfortable in this chair. So what that's going to look like for me is I'm going to place both of my feet flat on the ground. I'm going to sit with my lower back right against the chair here. I'm going to sit up straight. I'm going to kind of relax my shoulders away from my ears. My hands are just kind of naturally falling in my lap. And I'm just going to start to take a couple deep breaths. If it is helpful during your yoga practice to close your eyes, to sort of bring all of this energy back in so that you're not externally focused, I invite you now to take a moment to do that. And the breath is starting to lengthen here. A little bit longer inhale, all the way down into the belly, and a little bit longer exhale. And if you are not used to walking people through how to breathe in a yoga class, it can be really helpful to turn up the volume on your breathing. So I'm going to take you through an Ujjayi breathing practice that simply makes your breath a little bit louder. It also serves the purpose of calming the nervous system. So you're going to see if you can feel it in your body, in engagement in the back of the throat, almost like you're trying to fog a mirror. It's that same sort of motion, trying to fog a mirror in the back of the throat. So see if you can find that engagement. And as you exhale, see if you can hear that breath a little bit louder. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear mine in the video. I'm not sure if my microphone will pick it up. But if you start to sound like Darth Vader, you're doing it right. So let's try that a few more times. Engaging the throat and getting that loud exhale. Okay, I hope that you have taken that time to take a few deep breaths and really center yourself and start to build the intention to learn in this practice. So we're just going to begin with some grounding. We're going to press the feet into the ground. If you'd like, you can wiggle your toes. Continuing that deep breath into the belly. And maybe you wiggle the fingers. You can make a fist and open it up, and make a fist and open it. Starting to get some warmth in the joints. And as you place your hands down on your lap or wherever it's comfortable, let's take a breath into the heart space. Opening up the heart as we breathe in. Relaxing as we breathe out. time, breathing to lift the heart. Exhale to relax. Let's begin by moving our neck. You can move your neck side to side. Really, it's about finding what feels good. You can look left and right. Maybe you want to mix it up and make some crescent shapes, arching the top of the head from the left shoulder down to the center and to the right. Figuring out what works and beginning that conversation between the body and the mind. Making sure that you're giving the body whatever it needs, no matter what I'm asking you to do, making sure you're serving your body first. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And when you're ready, you can bring the head back to center. And once you do, we're going to start to roll the wrists. Making little circles if you like. If it feels better to stretch the wrists a little bit by pressing one hand into the other, up and down. Just gently waking the body up. And if you're making circles, then go the other way. Reverse that rotation. And as we do that, let's start to bring that into the elbows and then into the shoulders. So kind of free movement here. And as we bring that motion into the shoulders, let's draw some circles. Maybe you draw two at the same time, or maybe you like to alternate. Whatever feels good. And whatever you're doing, let's go the other way. So if you're making circles moving forward, then go ahead and move them backward. And the reverse. Awesome. Remembering to keep that belly breath going. Now, let's scoot forward just a little bit in our chair here. I'm about halfway forward on my chair. And we're going to go into a Sufi grind, which is a really simple but really great way to sort of wake up the spine and the lower back. So we're going to lean forward, pressing the heart out, and take a deep breath in as you do. And then we're going to circle back, and we're going to arch the spine as we circle back, like you're looking down at your belly button, breathing out. And then bring it back around. Inhale forward, open the chest, exhale back. Inhale forward, exhale back. I'm going to let us go through this a few times, just for a few minutes here. Because I want you to really get in touch with your breath. Going as fast or as slow as you like. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. If you do no other poses to prepare your students for meditation, I really recommend this one. It's going to get all of those joints that really start to lock up when we're meditating. And when we're gardening, so if you're working out in the garden, this is a really good little movement. Now, see if your body is ready, and when it is, reverse that rotation. Still breathing as you come forward, folding back on the exhale. Inhale forward, exhale back. Very good. All right. Now let's start to wake up the sides of the body. So I'm going to bring my hands down to the sides. We're going to make some rainbows. As you inhale, reach up and across. And exhale back. And then the other hand, reach up and across. Inhale. And back. And let's do that a few more times. Reaching over as much as is comfortable. And of course, if you're near other things, making sure you don't hit anything. And remember, if you're in a classroom, you may not want to do this because it takes up a lot of space. You can just skip this one if that's not doable. Inhaling as we open up under the rib. Exhaling as we come back to center. And let's do 2 more. Lovely. All right. Now, you can either reach the hands up overhead for this next pose, but you can transition over into a twist, or what I like to do, because we're in a smaller space, is just lift the crown of the head as you breathe in and find a little twist. So no need to force here. There's a lot of temptation to sort of crank ourselves around on the chair. Don't force it. Don't force it. Your body doesn't need that. Lengthening up as we inhale and exhaling to go a little deeper into the twist. And then on your next exhale, I invite you to come back to center. Take another deep breath in. Lift the crown of the head. And if you have the arms up, lift those up, and then twist. A breath in to lift the crown of the head in that twist. And an exhale to go a little deeper. And on your next exhale, bringing it back around. Okay, now we need to warm up the hips and the legs. So let's do a psoas stretch, a stretch for the hip here and this muscle along the back of the leg. So we'll press the right foot. I'll go ahead and start left and righting. It doesn't matter which one you start with. But we'll press the right foot into the ground and lift the left. Just lift it up, give it a little hug. You can make a little cup for the knee with your hands here. Just lifting that knee up as much as is comfortable. While you're here, you may choose to make some circles with your foot. And remember, when we are in a yoga class and we're making circles, you always want to go the other way too. It's a little yoga for the brain. We tend to default into certain things, so we want to mix it up as well. So go ahead and reverse that circle. Good, and release it down. Press that foot into the ground as you lift the other. Hugging that knee in as much as is comfortable. Remember to keep the crown of the head lifted. You don't want to be arching forward with the spine here. We always want to take care of our backs. And if you would like, you can roll that ankle as well. And then reverse that circle. And release it down. Okay, now, if you've ever been in a yoga class, you've probably done a few poses in the warrior sequence. So I'm going to move my chair ever so slightly so that you can see better. And then we're going to go through some warrior poses to open up the lower body and to get a little fire going in the arms. All right, let's do a little warrior flow here. So we want to come pretty far forward on our chairs, but you can check while you've got 2 feet on the ground. Check and make sure that that chair is stable, okay? First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn one knee out to the side. It doesn't have to be over the side of the chair, just as much as is comfortable here. So we're going to look over that leg that we have moved over to the side of the chair. And we're going to lengthen that other leg as back as far as we can. And then we're going to open the arms out wide. This is a chair version of a warrior two. Take a deep breath in, and as you do, expand in the heart, opening the chest, strong arms. This is also not necessarily a small space pose or sequence. The next few are not really for small spaces, but you can just delete these if you need to. Now let's flow. We're going to move back and forth in this warrior pose. So we're going to open that front hand, whichever knee is out over the side of the chair. We're going to inhale, turn that palm up and lift it up tall and back down as you exhale. Inhale, lift. Exhale, back down. Good, let's do a few more. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. One more time, inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Awesome. Now let's bend this elbow and bring it to the knee if that's available. We're going to reach the opposite arm up overhead. Extended side ankle. Take a deep breath into the side body here. And as you inhale, bring it back to center. Now we're going to keep the legs wider as we move back to the center of our chair. We're just going to, this is essentially a goddess pose. So we're turning the feet out at 45-degree angles, and you can flow in this pose as well, and it just feels lovely. Just a little transition to the other side, but let's reach back behind us, open the heart, and as we exhale, reach the hands forward, fold over like you're looking at your belly button. Inhale and open. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Now let's reach the arms up overhead. Inhale, open wide. Exhale, hands down to the sides. Let the arms rest for a moment. All right, we're going to turn that first knee back to the front of our chair, and we're going to go to the other side now. So find the warrior position that is comfortable for you. Make sure that knee is at a 90-degree angle and it's turned out to the side of the chair. And when you're ready, we're going to lift the arms, looking out over the hand that is over the knee that is out to the side. It's kind of difficult to say that. All right, finding that strong warrior two here. Opening the chest, really sending the energy out through the fingertips. Maybe you spread the palms. And as you breathe in, let's lift it up and back down. And up and back. We'll lift it up on the inhale and back. And one more time, lift it up and back. Good. Now bend that elbow, bring it down to the knee, and reach the opposite arm overhead, extended side angle. Take a deep breath. As you breathe in, you may feel that stretch under the rib cage here. You can almost stretch from the inside out in this pose, just by breathing. And then we'll bring it back to center. Let those knees both come back together. And we're going to do a couple forward folds now. So I'm actually going to turn my chair so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, now in these forward folds, we're gonna have a couple variations. Remember to do what feels good in your body. Nothing more, nothing less. It's all optional. It's just yoga. It's not that big a deal. All right, so we're going to begin with the knees at about a 90-degree angle. You can sit a little bit further forward in the chair. Once again, make sure you're stable. I can't emphasize that enough. And let's take a deep breath and open the arms up, overhead. Doesn't have to be all the way up, but it can be if that feels good. Take a deep breath in, expanding under the rib cage. And as you exhale, release all that air and just fold forward over the knees. Let your head hang here, let it be heavy. And then take another inhale, lift the arms up overhead, and if you'd like, you can straighten the legs this time. And exhale and fold. Inhale up. And one more time, wherever you are, exhale and fold. And inhale all the way up. And release the arms. Couple more hip stretchers for you here. We're going to bring one ankle to the opposite knee. Doesn't matter which you start with. And we're just going to take a moment to press into that knee a little bit. Nothing forceful, just a little bit extra weight. Hopefully what that's doing is opening up this hip just a little bit. So just kind of bounce that, see how that feels. Nothing wild. And then if it's available to you, we're going to do a fire log pose. Make sure the back is straight here, but you can lift your foot, that lifted foot, lift it up and place it in the crook of your elbow here. It's not going to be available to everybody's body, so if they want to just stay here in this pose, that's totally fine. But if they want to go a little bit deeper, they can do a fire log pose, or as I like to do with my kids, is rock the baby. So you can just get a little bit of movement in that hip, or you can just stay in this still position and breathe, opening the chest and just getting that yummy stretch. Find what feels good in your body. Now, if you want to go a little deeper here, there is another option. Very much optional. Optional option. We're going to bring the hand of the same side to the hand, or to the foot, the outside of the foot here. And we're going to do a hand to big toe pose. So I'm straightening the leg here. Obviously, if you're here, that's okay. Just do your work today, whatever that looks like. And this is, of course, optional for folks that, are really prepared for it and warmed up for it. All right, release that down, and we're gonna do it on the other side. So it's a good time here because people will end up kind of collapsing in these poses. It's a good time here to roll the shoulders back, just kind of remembering, being mindful to take care of our upper backs here. Bring the other foot to the leg. Take some time, bounce that knee, or don't. Remembering to breathe down into the belly. As an instructor, you're still engaging that Ujjayi breath as much as you can. And if you want to go a little deeper, I invite you to bring the foot to the crook of the elbow. Maybe you rock the baby, or maybe you just hold it here in fire log. We'll do this for 2 breaths. And then if you would like to go any deeper, bringing that hand to the outside of the foot, or you can wrap the peace fingers around the big toe. I like the outside of the foot, it's a little bit more stable. And we're going to reach the foot out. Hand to big toe pose. Optional, optional, optional. Keep the knee bent if you need. There is no destination here. It's just about feeling good. And release it down. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're so close to the end. Oh, I hope that you're enjoying this so far. Okay, so I like to warm the body up a little bit when we are, even if we're just going into meditation. So I am going to give you one option for a little bit of ab work that I just really like to do. I think it's fun, and if you're working with kids, they're probably going to like it because it gets them a little bit closer to being worn out, which we all love for meditation purposes. So make sure, once again, that you're in a really stable position. We're going to bring the hands back to the chair behind us. You can either grasp here, which I don't necessarily recommend, or you can just bring the hands to the seat, grasping the sides of the chair. We're gonna lean back, scooping the tailbone under, opening the heart, remembering to keep the chest lifted, and we're going to lift the knees. Okay, now, as you breathe out, I want you to do a crunch. So pull the knees in. As you inhale, open it up. Straightening the legs as much as you can. Inhale in. Exhale in. Inhale out. It is really hard to talk and to do this with your students. It gets easier with time, but I'm clearly out of practice. So let's do 2 more. And release the feet down. All right, if you want to mix it up with the kids, you can always, or adults, you can always do some bicycles. You can go a little bit faster. You can go a little slower, which is excruciating. But feel free to mix it up. You can also bring the arms out as well. Okay, there are just a couple more optional poses that I want to throw in. This is if you have a little bit more room, because they are standing poses using the chair. So I'm just going to adjust my camera and my chair and get you set up for that. All right, if you are able to move around to the back of your chair, if that space is available for you, then you can try a couple of these poses. They're really great for opening the heart especially, and getting that back bend feel without having to do an actual back bend. So we're first going to begin by bringing the hands to the back of the chair, and we're going to step back. And this is really one of those things where you just want to develop a feel for it, but we're going to step back until we're essentially making a house shape. Okay, so you've got your roof here, and you've got the sides that are still straight up and down, perpendicular to the floor. But you want to be able to reach your bottom back a little bit and get a little dip in the arms as you release down. So just start to get a feel for it, and once your students are in the pose, they can adjust as needed. So you can either cue it like, take 3 steps back, or step a foot back or 2 feet back, depending on the height of the people that you're working with. So we're going to press our hands into the back of the chair as we slowly start to bring our hips back and release our chest forward. You can bend the elbows a little bit here. They'll kind of just naturally bend. And we're going to release the heart toward the floor. You can bend the knees a little bit here. You don't have to necessarily. This isn't really hard on the knees. We're just going to breathe and relax down. And then slowly start to bring it up. And then we'll step it a little bit forward. So this time you want to be about a foot away, or depending on height, it's hard to say, from the chair. But you want to be able to rely on the chair to keep you stable, okay? So we're going to do a dancer pose to end the class. So I'm going to reach my ankle up behind me. I'm starting on the left. You can start either side. And I'm going to bring that hand back and grab that ankle. If that's not available to you, you can grab your pant leg here I'm gonna grab that ankle, I'm gonna open my heart up, keep the heart open, pressing the shoulder blades together, and then press the foot into the hand, and the hand is gonna pull the foot. So you're getting a little bit of opposite dynamic there, a little push and pull. And that's gonna naturally sort of open you forward. And then release it down whenever you're ready, and we'll switch back, we'll go to the other side. This is a great way to sort of introduce people to balancing poses. Very accessible as long as they don't have that too much tightness in the ankle there. But once again, may not be for everybody, and that's okay. And when you're ready, go ahead and release it down. All right, you can follow that up with a basic meditation. I would recommend at least a few moments of meditation or silence to really let the body settle. Thank you so much. I hope that this was helpful. Please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions, and check out the PDF in the description.